Welcome to All Talk, a podcast about the power of education to help young people speak up and build a fairer world. I'm Greg, founder of a charity called Smart School Councils. And today we're heading over to Barnsley in South Yorkshire to speak with Damien, Associate Head at Parkhouse School, part of the Keys Group, which has 25 schools across the UK. I talked to Damien back in January about his work supporting pupils with social, emotional and mental health needs, where I guess getting young voices involved and speaking up is more important than ever. Damien's got a beard that might be even better than mine, and he's using the Smart School Council programme to help young people discuss local projects, the latest news, and helping students engage with just ideas that matter to them. He also talks about how he manages pupils to kind of veer away from those pupil voice requests that we always get, like, can we have a swimming pool, uniform, school meals, that kind of thing, and how he redirects them into more practical discussions. So, thanks very much for listening. Here's Damien on how he's empowering young voices in his school. Damien, big thanks for coming on. How are you getting on?
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. Great to join you. Getting on great.
Good. You've had a few snowball fights this week or the last few weeks at school.
We have. It's been an interesting start to the term. Really enjoyable. Snowball fights, snowball building, snowman building, all that kind of stuff. It's been great. Some nice moments with his pupils.
That's lovely. Good to embrace it rather than kind of hiding away from it, isn't it? And it's honestly great you could join me. Do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of you and your role, Damien? Keen to hear kind of what your job looks like.
Yeah, so I'm the Associate Head at Parkhouse School, which is part of the Keys Group. The Keys Group have lots of different elements to the organisation, but I'm part of the education division. So we have 25 schools in the UK, all different sizes, and we support pupils with social, emotional and mental health needs. So my school, Parkhouse, is very small. We only have up to 24 pupils here, whereas some of our schools can be up to 100, they really vary in size.
And where in the country are you, Damien?
We're in South Yorkshire, Barnsley.
Okay, great, fantastic. And did you always want to go into education?
Yes, definitely. So I trained as a primary school teacher. So that's how I started my career. So 6 years in the primary classroom. And then I moved to Parkhouse School when it opened in 2015. And I've been here since then. So going into my 10th year, I'm approaching.
Wow.
And it's been great. Yeah, working in specialist education is definitely where I fit, where it all works for me. It's great to work with the pupils that we have here.
And how did you find that switch? Because it's not always common, is it, that people might switch from the primary sector to specialist? How did you find that?
Yeah, it was quite a shock. There was a lot to learn, and I'm still learning every day because every day we're faced with new challenges, as you would in any classroom environment. But it's been great. The Keys Group provide a lot of support for all of their staff. So it really helped with that transition and using those skills that I had from the primary classroom and being able to now support pupils more specifically with their needs and help them engage in education.
Fantastic. I guess I'd love to hear you kind of set the scene a little bit more, Damien, because I visited one of the key schools in Middlesbrough, which is amazing. But for listeners who maybe aren't in education, can you give us a sort of flavour of what your school looks like, or maybe some of the other schools in the group look like too?
Yeah, so what we provide for our pupils is the same as hopefully what they would get in a mainstream setting. We want to replicate that. So we're following the national curriculum. We're giving them opportunities for GCSEs, but we're doing it in a much smaller setting with specialist staff that are trained in therapeutic approaches and meeting those children's needs. Our group sizes are a lot smaller and our curriculum is chunked a lot more short bursts of learning as opposed to longer lessons that our children struggle with. And we blend that with lots of enrichment opportunities. Part of Keys Group is we have peak education. So we have outdoor activity centres that our students can attend and engage in lots of outward bounds kind of activities that really enhance what we're doing in the classroom day to day. So they can all explore things of personal interest and really use that to fuel their learning and guide them down their pathway.
So quite different from a room with 30 kids in rows. That's not what we'd
Yes,
expect in a school.
not at all. That's not what you'd see here.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for telling us a bit about it. I guess what was your starting point with pupil voice? Like what did you know about that from maybe your primary career or your life in a primary school? And what was your starting point?
It's probably the same as most people. A student council is usually the same students all the time, every year, being elected and coming up with the same ideas of wanting a swimming pool and a football pitch and, going to a theme park every week. So it never felt like it had a true impact and never really improved the educational experience for the children and didn't quite equip them with what they needed going forward on how to put ideas across and how to pursue something. So when I started at Parkhouse School and we were thinking about ways that we could gather pupil voice here, I did lots of research, started Googling different models, different approaches. We tried lots of different things. And when I was researching, Smart School Council came up a few times from schools that were using it and just, links to your website. So we started exploring that. And it just seemed like an approach that made sense because it was involving everybody and it was developing lifelong skills of debate and speaking and listening and discussion. So we gave it a go, a bit unsure if it would work, and it has worked. It's been absolutely fantastic.
That's great. That's really great to hear. And from your specialist kind of setting, how has that kind of worked? 'Cause that's quite different from what other people, or I guess other people I've talked to on the podcast as well, Damien. So keen to kind of hear that works in your setting.
Yeah, well, one thing that's great about Smart School Council is the support package that comes with it. So it's not just a programme that you're given and you run with. You get fantastic staff. Karen's our point of contact within Smart School Council, and she has been fantastic. And I meet regularly with Karen, and we explore the challenges that we have because of the nature of our setting and the needs of our pupils and how we can adapt to the programme. Karen is very much supporting us in how we mould it, not saying, well, this is how it should be, this is how it was designed. It's how do we use that model in a way that works for us. So one aspect of the model that doesn't quite work at the moment, but we're working on it, is getting the pupils more actively involved in the different teams, the communication teams and the action teams. And that changes year on year with the pupils that we've got, and we have to do a lot of work with them in developing the skills. But through using the programme, they are developing the skills. There's a lot of debate and discussion and speaking and listening opportunity. It's building the pupils' confidence. It's building their communication skills. And then that then translates into us starting to follow that traditional model of what Smart School Council was set up for, to be able to put those teams in place and use that approach.
Yeah, that's great, Damien. Yeah, thanks for walking us through that. And on the kind of class meeting side of it, so do you want to describe kind of what that looks like and how often you do them? What have been some of the big questions that you've tackled as a group and as a school?
Yeah, they've been fab. I really like the bank of questions that's already there, and we've also looked at group-wide questions and things that are common within our schools or within our area to address. But our class meetings, we now do them every other week, so we do half the school at a time. So that over a 2-week period, we've got the voice of everybody. And they're done in tutor groups, so they're done in small groups of no more than 5 pupils together. So it means that when we get to the voting aspect of the class meeting, we can get individual votes as opposed to group votes. But those class meetings are really good for developing those communication and interaction skills. A lot of our children are here with SEMH, social, emotional, mental health need, but they may also have communication interaction needs. So within those class meetings, they are having a model and a structure to how to discuss with their peers, how to listen, how to deal with conflicting opinion, and how to be respectful and how to articulate their opinion and be open to that opinion changing with the introduction of new information. So we've had all kinds of debates. We link it to current affairs, what's going on. So there's been lots of political stuff that's gone on when we've had changes in government and things that are going on in America. We've had things with what's been going on in Ukraine and discussions around that. And then looking at more local issues and how we can use funding within school or within our community, recycling and how we can put initiatives in school. We try to use the question to guide then that open forum part of the meeting where they're asked more openly about what improvements could be made, the pupils are getting much better at making that link of actually what we debated there. We could now take that, which might be a global or a national issue, and then think about how they can apply that to our school and put forward ideas that could impact us on a school or local level. And that's really good so that they can see that connection.
What's an example of that, Damien? I'm curious to hear a bit more.
So with the global aspect of pollution and recycling and all that, that's been a big one for us because pupils raised that we could do more. So we opened up with some kind of news articles and research and things that had been released, and then looked at what could we do on a local level and things that we can put in place. And it just made those global issues more contextualized for them and kind of brought it down to how does it actually impact us day to day, and then what can we do?
That's really cool, isn't it? Because I see a lot of schools either having like lots of debate questions and then kind of questions that they might do something about in school. But actually, it sounds like you've got a kind of link between the two, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that really does then stop those really bizarre requests of can we have a pool, and because it then gives it some direction, and they can see some relevant then to those wider issues and things that we're discussing and debating.
Have you had any sort of fiery Trump debates over the last year?
There have been some.
Yeah, that seems to be a common thing with some of the schools and teachers I'm talking to. Obviously, there's lots going on in the world. So, why does this matter to you, Damien? Why do you care about this? Why, like, getting young people's voices involved?
It's why we're here. We're here for them. We're here for the pupils. So hearing their voice is absolutely crucial. We're not going to have an impact unless we've got those pupils on board. And that's the same in any setting. In a work environment, unless your colleagues are on board, you're not going to be able to make change that's effective. So within a school environment, we need to listen to what they're telling us. They're able to tell us what they need. They might not have the tools to be able to do that and identify those needs all the time, but we can support them to do that. So it's really vital that we're getting that regular feedback from the pupils and then feeding that into what we do day to day. It's their school. It's not my school, it's theirs.
Yeah, that's a really good answer to my challenging question. Thank you. I often found actually that some of the schools that I speak to who place that greatest importance on young people's voices are those who are working with young people with additional needs. Have you seen that in your setting? I guess because you've got the experience of both primary and specialist education.
Yeah, I think it's more doable in a smaller setting like ours. It does make it a little bit easier to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. But I've not had the experience of using Smart School Counselling in the mainstream, but I can see how it could still be able to give that opportunity for everyone to be heard. And, I read online and hear about schools that are using it with great success. So I can see how it can still work. I do get when you've got a smaller setting, it's a little bit easier to make sure everyone is listened to.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great. And how would you kind of describe what you're up to now? Like, what have you been doing? What are some of the things that you've been working on this academic year?
So in terms of Smart School Council, we're looking at how we can now use it across the whole group. So we've got 25 schools, and we've also got Alpha, which is our alternative learning outreach program as well. And we're looking at how we can collate pupil voice across all of those settings and look at group-wide decisions and actions that could be taken forward. So our directors of education and our governing body have been asking lots of questions about how Smart School Council could be used in that way. And that's another great thing. Karen, who's from your team, has been working with me on how could we do that? And we've been trialing different things. So over the next term, that's going to be our focus of how can we widen this and start to have debates with all of our pupils in all 25 of our schools, not just in one. And that'd be really interesting to start sharing that data so that the pupils can not just see how their pupils are responding in their own school, but how are other schools responding? And is there a difference in response depending on where in the country you are or the age of the pupils? So that's really exciting for us. It's going to really widen up how we're using this beyond just our setting.
That's really cool. I'm just curious, like, what type of questions might you think of tackling, or is that something you'd ask the young people? Is it more debate style ones or create and change ones? Yeah, keen to hear your kind of vision for it.
Yeah, I think at the moment we're in the early stages of looking what kind of things we could put out there. And I think it's going to be starting with questions about changes that could be made group wide. So, what do our central team need to be aware of, and what kind of things could they invest more money in or spend more time on in order to improve what's happening day to day within all of our settings. But it will be really interesting to then, once we've got that, to start to open to some big debate as well as things are happening in the world, get the viewpoints of our pupils, and that will help us shape our curriculum and the way that we're working with them as well.
No, that's really cool. And I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on what you and Karen get up to, and all the voices that you get involved across the group. That's fantastic. Just going back to the class meetings, Damien, I'm curious about how you, in the group of young people that you'd be working with, how you might over time encourage those pupils who are maybe shyer or less confident to speak up. Obviously, that was part of the reason I was so keen to set up this organisation, because I think it's so important that we support those young people who are a bit quiet, or maybe don't always put their hand up for everything. How do you approach that as your school? Like, I'm really curious.
Yeah, well, some of our children, because of their needs, they do require a lot of support generally with communicating. So it may be that the adults who are in the classroom with them are supporting them to find their voice. At Parkhouse School, all of our pupils are verbal, but within some of our settings, we do have non-verbal pupils, and we've been exploring with Karen ways that we can use the programme with those students. Mixed success, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it takes time. That's something that we're evolving. But within our classroom, we're finding that because we're doing it in small groups of 5 in their tutor groups, they're less daunted. They are more willing to speak up. Our pupils are very vocal and they do enjoy expressing their opinion. The bit that we work on most with our pupils is how they can then listen to somebody else's opinion. And if you don't agree, be respectful and, be open, because it might actually then shape and inform your own personal opinion. And that's the bit that we have to work on a lot with our pupils. Because of their social, emotional, mental health needs, that can be a bit of a challenge, particularly when we're working with pupils with a diagnosis of autism, for example, who might have a really fixed mindset on a particular topic. Helping them to develop those skills of being a little bit more open and starting to respect and respond to others around them and what they're expressing.
Yeah, it's not always easy when regardless of what needs you have, like when you've got a strong view on something, isn't it? Yeah. Definitely with all the important debates you'll be tackling. What advice have you got for other schools or settings or groups, Damien, about how to go on that journey of kind of reflecting on how school council or pupil voice might work?
Give Smart School Council a go. I absolutely advocate it. I think it really works. Give it a go. Take the plunge. It's really easy to set up, really easy to get started with. And it really does ensure that everybody's voice is heard. But however you're doing it, I just encourage everybody to listen to the pupils, listen to what they're telling you and act on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the heart of all of this, isn't it? It's definitely the most important thing and why we're all here, I guess. Final question from me, Damien, if that's okay. What's next for you, as well, outside of the working across the group, what's next for you in terms of what else do you want to kind of develop in your school in terms of listening to pupil voices?
Within our school, I think maybe looking at how this model could be widened to parents and members of the community, and let's start getting their voices as well, because they're really important to what we're doing day to day. And already as part of our processes within school, we have lots of check-ins with our parents and lots of opportunities, but having more regular opportunities and getting to know the thoughts and opinions of those that our children live with, because that's where our pupils' thoughts and opinions are usually coming from, is whatever's being discussed and shared within the home. So being able to use the platform to maybe expand beyond the school setting and get input from others into what's happening day to day.
Very cool, very exciting. Yeah, definitely. We would love to explore that with you. Maybe come and visit your school one day as well, Damien. It'd be cool to meet you and compare our beards. If anyone's watching
Yes.
this, we both have Well, Damien has a fantastic beard. I've got an okay beard. But Damien, many thanks. It's honestly fantastic to hear your perspective as someone who's so passionate about pupil voice and getting young people's voices involved. It's great to meet you. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you very much.